What's up, fellas? Horde? Welcome back to the channel. So today, let's talk a little bit about The Bad Batch Season 3, Episodes 10 and 11. I'll tell you what, it's interesting to me that my favorite episodes of The Bad Batch are the ones where the Bad Batch aren't even in them. Episode 10 was my favorite episode of the season. So we're going to dive deep into that one first. There's a lot to go over, and then we'll go into episode number 11. Episode 10 was called Identity Crisis. So we open up the episode with seeing a Force-sensitive child on an unknown planet. And what happens here is this child ends up using the Force. And this causes a little bit of chaos in the market. And a bounty hunter sees what is happening with this child. So they contact someone else to come pick up this child. Now, I don't know if this guy was actually a bounty hunter or just a civilian, basically trying to make a coin, but basically they end up contacting someone about this. Here's my big issue with this part is, okay, so in The Mandalorian, we see Grogu use the Force as a child as well. But remember, Grogu is also 50 years old, and Grogu also was at the Jedi Temple at the time of Order 66, obviously doing training. This child we have no backstory on. I get that. But it's pretty easy to assume that this child has never even been tested, has never been trained. So it's kind of interesting that they decided to allow this child to use the Force and make it look so easy. So that was my only real issue with this opening scene. But I understand why they did it, because they wanted a way to allow the viewer to know that the child is Force sensitive. After the opening scene, we then head over to Hemlock, who is viewing someone or something in some type of cryo chamber. And it looks very much like a callback to The Empire Strikes Back, when we see Han Solo being frozen in carbonite. Over on the panel next to this chamber, it looks like he's looking at something that looks like a Dark Trooper helmet. So I am thinking that this is like the first beginnings of the Dark Trooper program that we will later see in The Mandalorian Season 2. Hemlock then goes and meets up with Dr. Emery Carr, and she, remember, is a clone from Jango Fett. And she's also been, I don't want to say genetically enhanced, but she is genetically different, kind of like the Bad Batch themselves. So she then is interested in becoming more important, and she wants to take on the role that Nala Se has been removed from. She would like to take over from Project Necromancer. So after a short conversation, he then appoints her as the new chief scientist. Hemlock then takes her into what's called the Vault, where all of the Force-sensitive high M-count children are housed. Now, this is borderline child abuse on the Empire's part. This was really interesting to see. There's not a ton of kids there, but they are basically just sitting around all day long and do nothing. So remember, M-count cannot be directly replicated from the source. This is what Hemlock explains to Carr. Hemlock goes on to tell Carr that Omega's blood is the only binder that has been proven to be compatible with their DNA to recreate their M-count levels. Very, very interesting. Now, I understand that Emery Carr has been very loyal to the Empire. She basically does whatever they tell her to do. The one thing I did find odd is knowing what happened with the Bad Batch and other clones, such as Captain Rex. It's interesting that he will just basically tell her all of the secrets right off the bat. I understand that she's the new scientist for this project, but there's a lot here, a lot of information given. But we'll see how that plays out later in the episode. While down in the vault, we see Carr meet a couple of the younglings. One is SP-54, but her real name is Ava. And we also see her meet SP-32 and his name is Jax. Hemlock tells her to make sure that she does not develop any type of relationship with the subjects. Next up, enter Cad Bane. This was the bounty hunter that was contacted by the snitch in the opening scene. So Cad Bane had arrived, and in a very emotional scene, ends up stunning the child's mother and takes the baby away. And it's really heartbreaking. Like, originally I thought he had killed the child's mother, but in the rewatch, I noticed he did put his gun on stun. After a short conversation with Jax, we then see Carr visit Nalase. Nalase, I think in this scene, was pivotal in the change in Carr's direction as a character, because I think we can now see that Emery is going to be taking on the role of Nalase. I think she's going to end up helping out these children after actually seeing how they're treated and what else happens to them. After her visit with Nalase, she is then alerted by Hemlock that there is a new arrival, and she insists that she goes with Commander Scorch to get the new child. We then head over to Hemlock's office, where Tarkin wanted him to contact him about the funding of the project and the overall cost. Tarkin doesn't know the reason for the research, but he wants him to know that if he fails, there will be repercussions. Hemlock contacts the CX assassin clone that we saw a few episodes ago, who is trying to snatch up Omega. He tells Hemlock that he's currently searching for the pirates who know where the clones are. As Carr heads over to Cad Bane's ship, we see that Carr is shocked at how young the new child is, and she actually asks Bane where he gets the kids from, but he refuses to tell her. And again, you can see, after speaking with Nalase and now seeing how young this child is, we can really see that Emery Carr is starting to question her judgment in becoming the new chief scientist. Back at the vault, Carr is now looking for Jax, and she is told that he is being isolated for 2 nights because of his escape attempt, and this is standard protocol. This then allows Emery to make a connection with Eva by using her real name and not SP-54. During the conversation, Eva tells Carr that she lied. She said that Jax would not be in trouble, and all they wanted to do was go home. Back up in the lab, while doing a blood test on Eva's blood, we see that Carr ends up finding the same toy that Omega ended up creating in episode 1. So in the next morning, as Eva opens up her doors to come into the common area, we see the toy sitting in front of her. So again, this is just another example of Carr starting to turn a little bit because of her feelings toward these children. And that is the way episode 10 ends. So the episode ends with the question is, will she help the younglings? So overall, I thought this was the best episode of the season. I really like where we're headed. We're finally getting some questions answered. And again, I think that the main part of this season is twofold. I think it's, number one, where are we heading with this? Are we headed toward
somehow Palpatine returned,
getting the explanation we desperately need? And then 2, is Omega more important in the sequel trilogy than what we're thinking right now? Is it possible that Omega somehow is linked to Rey? And that's what I keep thinking. So we're going to head on to episode 11 now, and this episode was titled Point of No Return. We open up with this CX trooper getting intel from the pirates that he had found. And, you know, I'm not a really big fan of Wanda Sykes' character here, but, you know, she's used, you know, as part of a way to have the Bad Batch gain information and get missions. So it's fine, but pretty easily he gains the intel, and this will take him to the planet of Pabu. We then flash over to Pabu, where we see Omega leaving Tech's cracked glasses to honor him. And I know out there on the interwebs, I've been seeing a lot of people saying that the CX Assassin Trooper is possibly going to be Tech, which I think he's somebody, but I don't think he's Tech. The CX Assassin Trooper then arrives as the Bad Batch are loading up the ship with gear and rations because they don't want to stay anywhere too long. As they're heading over to the ship while Wrecker is loading up the cargo, Hunter senses something isn't right. After the Assassin Trooper spots Omega, and it is now confirmed that the Bad Batch is on this planet, we then get Razor Crest-like memories as he blows up the Marauder. Oh, it was devastating. And during the blast, we see that Wrecker is injured. Moments later, we then get the arrival of the Empire as a Star Destroyer appears, and totally gave me vibes of the Star Destroyer over Jeddah in Rogue One. It was an epic, epic scene. Hunter tries to steal a gunship while Crosshair and Omega go to help defend Wrecker as he gets aid. Now, this is where it gets really interesting because we see Hunter kind of use some of his own assassin-like moves, and he ends up getting onto one of the gunships. Hunter then falls from the ship after the assassin trooper is notified that the ship has been compromised. And it's kind of crazy because he ends up shooting his own pilot just to get Hunter down off of that ship. You know, obviously he was hoping to have him be killed there, but we see Hunter fall into the water, and later he comes back onto the shore. While looking over Wrecker with Crosshair, Omega comes up with a plan to find Tantus. She tells Crosshair that she wants the Empire to capture her, and then Crosshair can then track her by her comm, which she will hide. Crosshair doesn't like this, but he knows at this point there's really nothing else for them to do, and so they move on with that plan. After Omega turns herself in a last-ditch effort, Hunter and Crosshair try to rescue her, and it's funny because we very rarely see the Bad Batch fail in any of these missions, but here all three of the clones fail. Hunter fails by falling into the water and does not obtain the ship that they needed to escape with. Wrecker ends up failing because he gets knocked unconscious. And at the very end, as Crosshair tries to attach a homing beacon to the assassin trooper's ship, you can see that he fires and misses. The episode ends with Omega and the CX assassin trooper headed back to Tantus. The only question I have now is there a second homing beacon, possibly like in Omega's boot? Because when they scan her, they only scan her upper half and they find the comm. How else are they going to find her in Tantus if they don't have some type of way to track her? So it'd be interesting to see in the next episode how they actually are going to accomplish this. All right, guys, we have 4 episodes left. These were my favorite 2 episodes by far, along with this Saz Ventress episode. I'm really hoping we still get her. You know, I said in my video last week, I think that she'll make an appearance in the finale, because I do think that that's where we're heading, is a Asajj and Omega spin-off show. I'm really curious to see if any of these clones are going to die, though. Wrecker, I thought this would have been a good spot for him to actually die. If they were going to kill one of them off, I thought it could have been him first. And when they said he was only unconscious, I kind of shrugged and said, figures. I kind of wish Wrecker would have died in this episode. It would have made the stakes for the last 4 even more. Let me know down in the comments how you guys enjoyed these last 2 episodes. Tomorrow night, I'll be breaking this down with the guys over at Hyperspace Heroes over on their podcast and YouTube channel. So make sure you go over there and give them a subscribe. And that will be at 8 p.m. Eastern. We'll be talking all things Bad Batch, Comic-Cons, and Star Wars. All right, guys, thanks for watching this video. Smash that like on the way out of here. Don't forget to keep those heads on. And I'll see you guys in the next video.